How we doing tonight, everybody? Or this evening, if you prefer. Good. Lovely to hear that, Joe. Nice to see you again. Every single time. Quick shout out every single time. I'm missing some of you, Jam Jam as well. Victor, I see you recently. Bottom Frag, what's up, bro? Happy to see all you guys here. Happy to see all of you. Thanks for taking part of it. We're gonna have a little bit of a longer one today because there's a bunch of very cool stuff that we can showcase just from today. A bunch of different stuff, as I mentioned in chat. If you were active today, we're gonna be talking just a tiny speck about macro profiling. I don't want to go deep into it, but we're gonna start off with that. But before we start anything, I just want to show you guys, right, what happened. And we were looking and just returning back to our weekly outlook. We had two possible outcomes. And since, well, at least for my students and for people trading my model, there was no trading until today, which is why there are no price action reviews. Sorry, I had something in my mouth. Which is why there's no price action reviews before today, right? Because based on my model, there's no trading. But there were two possible outcomes. We were looking for higher prices early during the week or later during the week, right? We wanted to see either manipulation higher to then distribute lower, or manipulation lower, and then we would chill here through consolidation to have a Wednesday reversal. We mentioned it as well. Wednesday reversal, what we were looking for. So for me today, I was more specifically looking for shorts. But as we all know, before we can go short, we need to wait for a buy side objective to be reached. So today, what do we see? Well, clearly we reached the highs. ES had a little bit of a harder time, just went one tick above. If you're wondering, you can look at the top of my screen right here. So we had a high at 53.49, which was a previous week's high. And then this week we just went it, today actually, we just went a tick above. So clearly we went for it. NASDAQ, of course, there was divergence. ES had some catching up to do. But if we dive down to a 4-hour, that's where we start seeing a lot of divergence. So I'm going to delete this. Of course, divergence on the highs, but then you also have divergence on the lows here. I'll just hover it. There was a lot of SMT, is what we need to say. So definitely based on this higher time frame, we need to see how the 4-hour candle developed. And then I'm talking about the 10 a.m. candle, which there was no SMT for in the 4-hour time frame at that time, but then the afternoon candle, which there is, right, with ES inputting a lower low while NASDAQ is inputting a higher low. But we'll dive straight into the intraday time frame, and we'll just look at today's PA based on that, because I don't know if you guys were watching charts today, but we had FOMC minutes at 2, and before, let's just call it the AM session up until London close, so up until 11, was pretty choppy. That is to be expected as well, because we had big earnings tonight, right? They came out, I'm going to be honest, I haven't checked them at all, but 4 or 5 p.m. usually we had big earnings. We have Nvidia going through the roof. Taking a little detour outside of futures, there's a lot of movements in the markets in general right now. So before a big move, you can anticipate consolidation, right? They were waiting for the fundamentals to align with technicals before moving the markets. But enough talking. First thing we can see very clearly, well, if you look at the daily power of 3, right? That's what I want to bring your attention to. I'm actually going to hide ES here, and we're only going to look at NASDAQ unless it's for SMT. So actually going to make it super small so we can see the daily power of 3. We have consolidation leading, let me just put my colors on it, leading into a clear manipulation lower. I would mark out this whole move as manipulation lower, but if we want to be a little bit more precise, I like this down move, which is also a distribution of this manipulation higher, right? But we're thinking daily power of 3. So anything under, if we have an up close candle, anything under midnight opening price, sorry, that I had a hard time getting that one out. Anything under midnight opening price will be associated with manipulation, right? So anytime you would buy under here would be a good buy. And right now I'm talking in terms of time, right? So you got to take sessions into account, of course. But if we look at the 9:30 open, and I'll also mark out the 2 p.m. FOMC minutes, which you would expect a Judas swing. This news is a little weird one. I can't wait to hear your view on today's trash PA. Sorry. Alright, we'll get into it. Don't worry, Wolfie. But just to get back into it, we expect a Judas swing at news, right? But FOMC minutes is a little bit of a weird one. I tell students and most beginners to disregard it. Don't even look at it. It's not a news. There is no news. Don't trade that day. That is the easy approach, because sometimes it will act as liquidity injection, sometimes it will manipulate, sometimes it won't do anything. You can find some, you can backtest them and go see for yourselves. But FOMC minutes, just a meeting, usually doesn't do much. But today it was just utilized to distribute lower, in my opinion. All that to say, we had a clean daily power of 3 with a large manipulation lower, which for me led to multiple short opportunities. Just looking straight up at our intraday time frame, the one thing that jumps to my eyes, at least for me, is when we reach those Asian highs. That was our objective met, and then let me just scoot that over, and then if we look, what do we have right here? Well, no SMT. Oh, I was looking at SMT at the end of the day, or lower time frame probably, or right here. Okay, there we go. I was looking for my SMT, which was definitely in a lower time frame. If we're looking at comparing swing points, let me zoom in a little bit so that you guys can have a nice view of it, which is this swing high, and this, we can go further to this one. So let me make that a little brighter for you guys. There we go. So we had divergence at the highs. That's coming into the afternoon, but beforehand we had nothing interesting, right? Until when? Well, until this divergence right here, which marks out what? Well, more specifically, I'd like to go at the New York Open right here, which is higher than this one. And we can even come closer, right? If we look at this, this is higher, this is lower, right? There was a lot of divergence just in this area, which is probably why you were talking about it, Wolfie, about trash price action, right? Because if we look at in session, which is why I marked out the 9:30 open, and we look, go to a 1 minute chart. Why not? If we're going to show off consolidation, why not do it right? I'm going to mark out the beginning of lunch as well. That is our morning session right here. If you just look at this, right? We're not looking at anything, PD arrays, whatever, higher time frame context. No, nothing. What move would you like to trade? Well, I have one low resistance move here and another one here. At least to me, that's what I'm seeing. And yes, of course, there's this back and forth at the beginning. Yeah, even 15 minutes. That's true. It was very high resistance at the beginning of the day, right? Expected to buy earnings, right? That is something that you learn through experience more often than not, because you'll see how big earnings affect the market. But usually I just tell beginners, don't waste your time with that. It's going to take too much of your attention away from the basics, and you need to master the basics before you can start looking at implementing fundamentals. At least that's my approach. But the first thing I want to point out is avoid anything where you see at New York Open, we go and take out both sides of the range, right? We took out both sides directly. So we went, manipulated higher. This is what I wanted to see, actually. There we go. So we took out buy side, went to sell side. Now you want to see an expansion away, so a continuation of this move to sell side, because you already had your 9:30 open Judas, then your expansion lower. You don't want to see this move taken out further buy side. So that's already pointing out search and destroy. But for me, which is where macro profiling comes in a little bit, right? We're going to start off simple. I'm going to start sprinkling some information in you guys' mind. But I want to look at my algorithmic macros, more specifically, last 10 minutes of every hourly candle and first 10 minutes of said candle as well. all of these macros are based on one thing, and it is time-based expansion, right? It sounds complicated, but it is not. Just think power of three. You're looking for open low high close or open high low close at these specific times. And of course it goes deeper than this, way deeper. But if you want to keep it simple, just look at the price action during these times and view it as more important, or that's where you want to center your entries. That's where you want it to be based off things that happen there, or even more simply, in there, because you want to see a nice open high low close, open low high close to get a 1 hour expansion. But what happened during our first one, right? I'm even gonna go deeper, just play some lines. It's gonna start getting crowded on the chart right here. So actually I'm gonna zoom in. This is our 950 to 1010 macro. Can you guys see this well? If I'm pointing this out, I'm gonna remove these drawings as well. Can I get a little answer? Is that viewable? Well, actually, if you can't view it, you probably can't tell me. All right, well, that's perfect. So if we look at this 950 to 1010, how would you classify this type of price action, right? This is not expansion. It could be retracement, right, and continuation, but then you just kept consolidating. So of course, with hindsight, it's easy to say, yeah, we just consolidated right here. I believe I have something. There we go. So we just consolidated right here. That's all we did. Then we had a small manipulation lower, digging back into our balanced price range before continuing the consolidation. There's nothing special here. A lot of divergence, which when nothing's expanding beforehand. So as I just showed you guys with my buy side and sell side objectives, I already expected search and destroy after that. So if I see a tight range with SMT on both sides, I'm expecting just more and more and more consolidation, right? I'm not going to mark out every SMT. There is so much divergence within this little thing, right? And I was looking at a 15-second chart, so it was even worse, to be honest. But all that to say, you can, if you were to give a name to what happened there, you'd say, oh, well, it just consolidated. Yeah, okay, consolidated after it retraced a little bit. Consolidation. But that's when you expect the move to happen. Within these algorithmic macros, you're expecting price to spool to your objective, to our drawn liquidity. So if it does not happen there, you look for the next one. It is that stupid. And I want to give more insight into, well, not more insight, but to specify that look only at these two. There are two that are marked out. I marked out the 950 to 1010 macro and 1050 to 1110 macro. Those are the only two you want to concentrate on as beginners. All right, so I know it's not all beginners in here, but I'm tailoring this for them. So if you guys already know a lot of ICT and already know macros, you'll see that it's pretty straightforward stuff that I'm saying, right? So I'm sorry if I'm boring you, but I'm done with it for now. It's just when one macro consolidates, you expect the next one to be able to do the move. And of course, as I said, there are more insights I can give around macros, but for today, we'll keep it simple and say, if you see one accumulate, then you want to see the other one distribute. Always think power of three. What I'm seeing from here to here, I'm seeing the 1 hour candle that starts here, consolidated. Oh, it's a doji, right? It's a doji candle, opened somewhere right here, closed somewhere right here. We have a beautiful doji in the 1 hour. But then what do I have? If I look at my 11 a.m., let me just mark out the open. Then I have open, low, high, then a little bit of consolidation. That is true. Was there any SMT? I believe there was right here. Yeah, exactly. With SMT starting the move. I mean, that is one I want to mark out. Right here. I can bring him a little closer. And yeah, I was looking at this. There we go. So we did have SMT after continuing the move, but concentrate on structure and more specifically the order. Just to answer your question, Wolfe, what's a doji? Here, even better, I'll just show you. So the candle we are looking at is the 10 to 11 a.m. candle on NASDAQ, and it is this one right here. This one right here. I don't know if you can see it that well, but a doji is just saying a candle with wicks and a very small body. So very tight body. It's a name for the candle. I honestly don't know where I learned that, but I always say it like this. So it's just a name for a candle. For me at least, it does not mean anything, right? There's a great example right here. Just small body, wicks on both sides. Nothing special. Yeah, Wolf. So ICT does cover the macros in his own way, right? As he always does, giving small insights here and there and just hiding the things behind 20 different proverbs and stuff. Of course, I'm exaggerating, but we all know how ICT is for experienced traders. I have a way simpler approach, which I will share over time, maybe. But definitely, if you want to learn from ICT concepts, I'd say look at ICT. Very good to YouTube account as well. It's T Trades. He probably has a video about macros. If not, anytime in general, I'll be very happy to help as long as you study them first. So just go to your charts, look at this 950, just draw some lines, right? Be visual. So draw a line at 950, draw a line at 1010, and look at what it did. Look at the price action within those specific times, and you'll see what they do. It's pretty straightforward. He always is very mysterious. Yes, 100%. I do not remember what their names were as well. It left my mind. It is not of importance to me, to be honest. But just to get back into it so we don't spend hours here, first macro consolidates. Whether you took a loss or not here is not of question, right? This has no meaning. But then we look further because you see the consolidation. So I'm not going to look for a trade after here because I know it's consolidating. So I'm going to wait for confirmation of manipulation to then try and trade a distribution. And I'm going to wait till the next macro to give me that opportunity. Start of the macro, we keep a tight range. We have a clear inefficiency. Why? Because it's large, right? It's my first displacement that I am going to look for reaction off of. Also, what do we have? Well, SMT form at the opening of said macro. So I'm going to mark it out. There's a little divergence in the candles, but right here at the opening of the macro, we already have divergence. And of course here you'd want to prioritize ES. I just traded NASDAQ today, so we'll be looking at NASDAQ. If you have questions about ES, just keep them for the end and we'll go over them separately. But you have beautiful SMT at the low, giving you confirmation that, hey, we're ready to go up now. My move that I expected this morning, because I was bullish before I could go down, is going to happen there. And what do you have? Form as it forms every single time, because it is amazing. A breaker block with an overlapping fair value gap. Again, and again. Always. When there is expansion, there is a unicorn. That's just how it works. A video, no, Wolfe. I am not looking to get into that YouTuber stuff. I like to post these recordings on YouTube to allow people that aren't part of the Discord to enjoy the content and more specifically to help them. But it's going to be boring stuff, and I don't want to be a YouTuber. I'm a trader. I'm a teacher, second, and I allow some of these teachings to be online. I wouldn't mind doing a call here and just talking about it in chat, answering any questions at all, but a video only about this, no. And don't hurt yourself. Sometimes you just tunnel visions when you're looking at the chart, Wolfe. It's just something that happens, right? You just want to make sure you don't tilt when that happens. But if we look at the setup provided here, as we said, right, market structure shift above this high, no displacement yet, but I don't need displacement for a breaker to be formed. Let me just mark it out. There we go. Market structure shift forming my breaker block right here. Starting to get a lot of colors, so I'm going to delete what's on my left, guys. If it's going to let me highlight them. Thank you. Right here. And then what do we have? We have a beautiful trade. Whether you entered on the inverted fair value gap or the fair value gap, it is exactly the same. And we have an invalidation level at this order block. Why? Because we have the inverted fair value gap right here, and order block right here. So my stop would be at the low of this swing low. Why? Well, normally I'd allow for it to dig all the way down to this fair value gap's low, right? Because that's my third PD array, or my second, whatever the order is, right? I have 3 PD arrays, that's one of them. But these failure swings are low resistance liquidity. So I'm not going to put my stop under here, because I know that if it reaches for that one, it's either going to go for that one right away or be inducement and later target it, which is not something I want to be a part of. So instead, even though my stop should be under this low, I'm putting it here, since they are just failure swings which will be run through aggressively, as we have seen, right? Of course, now I have hindsight. I'm just explaining how the logic for such things go. And of course, clear buy side objective, opening range high right here. And if we look at this beautiful trade, we have a clear 2.33R. Was super quick. I mean, I didn't even get time to realize that my take profit had been hit, to be honest. So I just started scaling out of my position during this consolidation. Low means price runs it hard. Yes, low resistance liquidity, meaning you want to see an aggressive, energetic move. So for example, I'd call this rundown low resistance and this rundown high resistance. A lot of retracements, it's having a hard time going there, or it's going through it like butter, right? I'm trying to convert these titles and all of that into simpler words. Hope you understand that. How you feeling, Jem? All right, enough analogies for you, I hope. But there we go. That's the first trade I took. I was just looking at price at these times, having fun, to be honest. I wasn't even clicking buttons. I was just laughing in a Discord call. And then as soon as we have the next macro, beautiful SMT, then we have displacement higher with forming your breaker block, retracement into it right away, aligning with 1 hour open, high, low, close, right? This is the 11 a.m. open. There we go. So let me just mark it out correctly. So we have the 11 a.m. open right here, open low. Can I take a long here? Yes, because it opened low, right? It makes sense. I know in what order price is supposed to form. So if I have a retracement into this fair value gap, I can expect an expansion higher based on the rest of my context, right? If we take into context time, which is my macro, SMT, which gives me a confirmation of power of 3, and then the displacement with the price action, you get this beautiful 2.3 RR trade in, what is that, 5 candles? That might be one more. Yeah, 6 minutes. I honestly just had a limit and it hit, and then I just scaled out my position here up until that SMT forms. When that SMT forms, after taking out my buy side objective, and I'm already looking for lower prices, as we said, that's when I start looking for shorts. Where did you TP? That buy side. Yes, directly. I didn't have time to take profit before, I believe. I have the execution on Twitter. Not the executions, not the execution, the executions. So just a picture, basically. I'm just trying to find it. I thought I sent it in chat, but I guess I did not. That's surprising. Oh yeah, I did. In the X chat, if you want to go look, if you click on the post, you'll see my 3 of my trades, I believe. I just want to double check to make sure I'm not saying bullshit here. Sorry about that, guys. Yes, you have it right there. So right away, took profit along the way. Not along the way, sorry, here, and then just started scaling out at this point, had my last contract broken even here. But once that SMT is here, this is when you start looking for shorts. So I'm just going to clean this up very quickly. And we also have the flip of the open, which is a pretty intense. I'd start looking for short at this point, but then you're getting into lunch, which for me at least, I prefer not to be trading lunch at all. And yes, there is the lunch macro, and yes, there is a bunch of stuff, but I prefer not to because my win rate is not good inside of lunch. So that's the only reason. It's not because it's bad, or it is just clearly worse in terms of probability. That's undeniable through data. But you can find ways to trade the lunch macro. It's just not the best for me, so I don't trade it. I get wrecked in lunch, and PM session varies. Yeah, AM session will always be the highest probability no matter what type of trader you are. Low resistance, low volume. Yes, yes, yes. Sorry, I'm just reading through what you said. Yes, because the unicorn model, as said in the Rise Trading video, is usually related to the second stage distribution of a market maker model, which is considered a low resistance liquidity run, because it would be the final quarter of the implied dealing range. See all the words I said? I don't know if you understood, Cho. Sorry, I'm targeting you today, tonight, or Jam, or Victor. I believe you guys are all beginners, and Kaylee as well here. You don't need to know all those words. You don't need to understand all those words. You need to be able to recognize what they are in a chart. And that comes through one video. I gave it to you guys. I hope you guys watched it a lot. And I hope I can start seeing some backtesting. Send them my way. Just tag me in general, and I'll review them 100%. All the way down to 1 minute. I don't mind looking at 1 minute SMT or whatever, because as I stated as well, all the time frames are the same, right? You were in the call where we talked about it. Like, all the time frames are just saying the same thing. But I understand that my 1 minute SMT will get broken way more times than my 15 minute, and it's not as important, / it won't last as long. Yeah, as Wolfe said, price is fractal. So it doesn't matter. There is no lower time frame to accept SMT formation. But you would like to see it in close proximity. That's the big thing. So that's why I use the 1 minute a lot for my just short-term SMT, and then 15 minute, which is intraday SMT. So I expect a daily reversal compared to a 1 minute reversal, which this 1 minute expansion higher, then it reversed and went lower, then it reversed and went higher, right? I can't look at everything as a reversal in my 1 minute chart because there are too many. Does that make any sense? All right, and here is where we get to the part where I wanted to get. We're gonna go look at something very spicy. Let me just prepare the chart for you guys. I'm gonna hide the power of 3 indicator, and I'm gonna mark out noon and 1 and 1:30. So we want to look at a lunch trade. But lunch trades can happen in regards to the range from noon to 1 or noon to 1:30. When I'm talking about it in my model video, I simplify it. Why? Because you don't need to know both, because it happens way more often that it is noon to 1:30, and I prefer you guys miss a setup than get confused, which is what I've seen through personal experience teaching people. So I just tell them it can be both, but you concentrate on learning the easy one first, and then through experience you learn to trade the other one. But now we're looking at the price action from today, and today we had a lunch trade from the range between noon and 1 p.m. I'm going to mark out the highs and the lows of those ranges, and you will see something very special, which is my favorite thing. Divergence in important time-based liquidity. That is beautiful. That works with every framework from the One Setup for Life videos, my intraday draws on liquidity thread. And what do you see? Well, NASDAQ left the highs open, but ES didn't. That's SMT, by the way, right? That's just basic SMT between this high, wait, which is this high actually got taken out by this high, but this high is still open. Here, I'll just draw it out for you guys so you have at least a visual representation. But there is SMT here. Probably easier to see on a 5 or 15-minute chart. He mentioned it once in the One Setup for Life video. If you want to watch that, it's one trading setup for life in the ICT 2023 mentorship. But I made a whole thread about it if you want to start there as well. But we have divergence within this specific time-based liquidity. And when we have a lunch trade, what are we targeting? Well, the opposite end of the range, right? And of course, in this specific example, you want to concentrate on NASDAQ as well. And if we look at what formed on NASDAQ, I'll show you guys forming the breaker. And then what did we do? Retracement into, I'm going to combine both volume imbalances in there. That's what I do to find the true consequent encroachment, which is midpoint, by the way. Forming a breaker. Why? You have swing high to swing low, and then another swing low, right? Just under. Right here, you have a stop run, followed by breaking the other side of the range right here. If we're looking at pure mechanicals, this is market structure shift, and it forms a breaker block. It's coming to a lot of makeup, all that to tell you. Then you have your inverted fair value gap overlapping, which is your unicorn. So you enter right here, and I had an entry somewhere in here, I believe, right? And my trades are kind of far. They were demo trades, right? They weren't real trades, I believe. I don't know if I said it in the video. I said it on Twitter, but they weren't real trades. I was not trading my main account today with the earnings coming up. I like to play it extremely safe and concentrate on capital preservation on those accounts. And I had some evals running, so I just traded them there as well. But what do you have after this? Well, you have your framework, right? Which is, okay, well, the move from this high, which got taken out on ES, so you're looking at the same framework, moved all the way to lunch low. So then you'd use premium and discount to find a low-hanging fruit objective. And I like to go on a 5-minute, as I usually state here. On a 5-minute, there is nothing clear, though, except this swing low. That's the only liquidity you have. And yes, of course, it's internal range liquidity, but that's the only liquidity I see. And I'm going to mark it out a little different. There we go. And then you have your lunch low, which is the other side of your framework. I'm going to remove this premium discount. And you have your low-hanging fruit objective right here, which offered quite a few R, I believe, 2.88, which is fine, right? You don't need more. And then you had a runner that you could have left on up to 4.46. And for me, I actually had 1 or 2 contracts getting into here. Then somewhere in here, I removed another one and had one left for this final move down right here before, of course, a deep retracement into 4 o'clock, which, yes, you could have traded that low resistance liquidity run, but I'm not going to get into it because at this point you already have 2 beautiful setups. So why would you ever need more, right? And yes, there are some things in there, but it's way more difficult to navigate. And to be honest, if I personally, if I am trading this, I'm getting stopped out 3 times before catching this long. That's just how it's going to be. Why? Because SMT is being broken right here. That's all I'm seeing. SMT being broken. There is divergence forming here. That's a nice kind of turtle soup. I'm getting stopped out if I'm turtle souping this. I'm expecting this fair value gap. Sorry, I'm looking at the same time, but all I see is things that would have stopped me out personally, of course. But for me, I'm not concentrated on that, so I'm not going to showcase it. But as you can see, we had earnings at 4:20 that they were released, and we just went and took both sides of the daily range pretty much. So in case you were wondering, that's what happened today. We were waiting for earnings. I usually so lunch macro is noon to 1. Well, ICT presented it two different ways for sure. There is multiple macros within lunch. And as I said, I don't want to get into it because at least in my eyes, it is useless. And also, I'm not the best to be talking to you about that because as soon as I learned it, I checked my results, I tested it, and it didn't work for me. So I just stopped looking at it, right? So I don't want to give you, sorry for my words, but half-assed information about a concept that I know in very little depth about, right? Everything I'm showcasing right now, the things I know aren't because ICT said them in a video or someone said them in their mentorship and I heard it through a friend. No. All the things I'm showing you is because I learned them, but then I tested them for hours, providing data, and that's how you learn something. That's how you can be confident in something, right? When I'm trading, I wouldn't want to just be clicking on buttons and trusting somebody. I want to prove it. And that comes through backtesting, right? You build confidence in your specific model. Does that make sense to you guys? Good. That's awesome. I don't trade London at all, Wolfe. I started trading a little bit of London, but I'm the same time zone as New York is, right? I'm EST. So for me, New York AM is the gold mine, and then New York PM is for very specific days like today, where a lot of the time in the morning session we consolidate, which is just part of daily profiling, right? But this is your time if you have any questions more specifically, right? I know I just went through ES on this point. We had setups here with divergence, right? So if you want me to get into ES as well, I don't mind answering a few questions. Yeah, those definitely run in London. I'm guessing everything was clear because I'm not getting any questions at all. Would I be correct? All right. Well, pretty straightforward. Thank you guys for making it tonight. I hope I didn't fill your brains up with too much random stuff because I was a little bit all over the place. Been going through some personal stuff recently, so I'm just trying to keep going, right? Never give up and just keep providing you guys with this awesome stuff. So I really appreciate you guys being here. Warms my heart. So thank you very much. Yeah, go back test them, Wolf. Just tag me in chat, send me some examples. I'll answer any questions you have along the way with pleasure. Oh, yes, it was, Joe. Oh, yes, it was. And you know what? Because I put a boring title and a boring image, no one's gonna watch it. And honestly, that makes me happy. I'm starting to get ICT with his hiding stuff inside of concepts and inside of what he says. Like, bro, this is fun. You gotta work for it. You guys are here, so you guys are getting it, right? But some people just could have so much more, right? But yes, on that note, you guys have a great, awesome night, and good luck trading tomorrow. We'll be back here for another call tomorrow. I just released the event, so if you guys want to go click on interested there to get notified when we start, it's up there already. Thank you very much, Joe. You too. You guys have a great night. We'll see each other tomorrow for the call.